Hi guys, my name is Ramota and welcome back to my channel. I am the Global Scientist. So, it has been a hot minute since I recorded a video. Life happened and then I was gonna hop back on YouTube and then coronavirus happened. So as you can imagine, I was readjusting to my settings. I actually don't remember the last video I posted, so I decided that this video back is gonna be pre-introduction to me. What do I do? Where am I from? What have I been studying? And then kind of a brief discussion into, you know, doing a PhD, if you feel like a PhD is right for you, what made me decide to do a PhD. Also, special shout out to Fenty Beauty in this video because they have my skin glowing, you know, this is not me, this is the Fenty. Anyway, and if you see me looking down, I have notes on my laptop. I'm trying to be prepared, guys. I'm trying to be like a young black scientist on YouTube who actually knows what she's doing. Obviously, went on to do my A-levels. I picked biology, chemistry, maths, and English literature. In retrospect, I would have picked different A-levels, but at the time I wanted to study medicine at university, and like, you couldn't tell me nothing. My dad used to ask me like, oh, if you can't do medicine, what else are you gonna do? No, that wasn't even an option. Like, we're not having this conversation. This is what I wanted to do. My mind was set on it. So obviously that included chemistry, which, disclaimer, I'm terrible at chemistry. Anyway, so I did biology, chemistry, maths, and English literature. I absolutely loved English literature. I was really good at it, and it was actually my highest grade in my first year, and I still dropped it because, again, I was really focused on like the medicine path. And like, over the course of my A-levels, I did some work experience. I volunteered at my local hospital. Volunteered is loose. I showed up a couple of times. I should have known at that time because I didn't actually like being in the hospital. It felt quite suffocating. But again, you're 17, one-track mind. And I also did some shadowing on the acute medicine unit. Chemistry was kicking my ass. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Like, chemistry was... I just wasn't good at it. I loved maths. I still love maths. I mostly love the fact that with maths, there's a clear answer. There's always a solution to the problem. I was good at biology and I enjoyed biology, but I wasn't good at answering questions like exam style. I wasn't used to the way it was expected at A-level, which was weird because, again, at GCSE, like, my highest grade was in chemistry, followed by biology. I really, really loved it and I really, really enjoyed it. Anyway, I applied for 4 medical schools, testing my memory because it's been a couple of years. I applied for University of East Anglia, I applied for Queen Mary, I applied for Nottingham, and I applied for Southampton, and then I applied for another university as like a backup. In the UK, you're only allowed to apply to 4 medical schools. You have 5 university options in total, and only 4 of them can be for medicine, and you have to have a backup choice. Honestly, I don't remember what my backup choice was. I know it was something like human biology, something along those lines, but I don't remember where it was or anything along those lines. I interviewed for all of them. I took the UK CAT. I did not want to take the BMAT because I was very aware of my strengths and I knew that I would not do well on the BMAT, so I decided I wanted to avoid that. Took the UK CAT. I don't remember what score I got, but I know I did well enough, obviously, because I got interviews for all of the schools that I applied for. UEA, University of East Anglia, was my, they were my first choice. For them, I thought it went well, except it was, I think it's called MMI, where you go to like different stations. You don't have the same interviewer, but different stations ask you different questions. So one person will ask you about extracurricular, one person will ask you about exams, and so on and so on. And I remember the person who was asking about A-levels was like, well, you did poorly in like first year, so what makes me believe that you're going to do any better? And I was completely stumped and completely heartbroken. Needless to say, I did not get into UEA. I had a Queen Mary interview, which I vaguely remember because my dad took me down there and I was all dressed in my like button down and I was feeling mad professional, you know what I mean? I got into that. I had a Nottingham interview, loved it. I was 9 AM slot, had to drive down from London first thing in the morning. I remember leaving my house at like 5 or 6 AM and just sleeping in the car as my dad drove me down. I was the very first person. I had some really good questions, but the person interviewing me was kind but tough, which I've always appreciated. I got into that, and then my last interview was Southampton. Went down campus uni. I knew as soon as I got there that I didn't really want to go there, but I loved it. It was a good interview. At that point I was like well practiced, well versed in everything, so you know, it was a no-brainer. Moving on from that, so I had my 3 choices and my backup choice that I got into, but obviously because I had those 3 choices, I ignored my backup choice. I picked Queen Mary as my firm and Nottingham as my insurance choice. And for those of you who are not in the UK, when you get your feedback from universities, when they tell you, oh, we want you, we don't want you, you have up until a deadline in May, and you say, okay, this is my first choice and this is my second choice, and then you're getting, depending on your A-level results, in August. August came, you know, I worked really hard for my exams, like I was really on it. I'm such a bookworm, I do love to study, but anyway, come August, a week before my birthday, because I'm an August baby, y'all, I keep saying y'all like I'm American, you know, but I'm not, but it just feels like very on point and on brand for like the message, like y'all. Anyway, I failed. Whew. Did I flop my A-levels? I don't even want to talk about like the specifics of the grades. You guys just need to know that it wasn't to my full potential. It wasn't who I could really be. It was a bit of a mess. Anyway, moving on from that, didn't do well in my A-levels. I had to go through clearing. Clearing is when you call up a bunch of universities and you're like, help, please take me. And I knew in that moment that I didn't want to take a gap year. I don't like an idle mind. I don't like not knowing what I'm doing. So I ended up going to Kingston University, Biological Sciences. It was a 3-year degree with a focus on human biology, and I was still very much on my medicine flex, like very, very much on my medicine flex. This is what I want to do. This is how it's going to happen. I'm going to go in there, I'm going to kill it. I'm going to continue to build my work experience, and then listen, as soon as I finish 3 years, boom, medical school. 4 years, boom. That was the plan. First year, went in there, did my thing. I think I got a 2-1 in first year. Second year came about, and guys, I got like a 58%, which is a 2-2. When I tell you I was going through it, I was going through it. I was so upset, and it's because I had a chemistry module that was trying to kill me. But anyway, halfway through second year, I was kind of having that feeling of, oh, I don't know if I want to go to medical school. So I decided to apply to study abroad. And I remember like going through the application process and talking to my professors and deciding what university I was going to go to and all of that sort of thing. So I found out, I don't remember when I found out. I think the deadline was in January and I found out in like March or something, and then I had exams straight afterwards. But you had to pass all of your exams to be able to go, because when you would be gone would technically be resits. So I was really cautious about that. So after I found out I got in, yay, blah, 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 finished second year. I studied abroad for my third year. It was an extra year added on to my degree. And I can do a whole entire separate video on my study abroad experience because it was so much fun. And I'm so glad I went. And I met like people who I'm going to be friends with for the rest of my life. But while I was there, I took a public health module, which I found really, really interesting. Whether or not I showed up to class is a different issue. But I found it to be really, really interesting. And that's what kind of introduced me to epidemiology. And I moved on, came back fourth year. I picked a tropical disease type module, like neglected tropical diseases module, just because I thought it would be really interesting, and it didn't include too much lab work and you wasn't tested on lab work. And I was just convinced I wasn't good at lab work because all of my first year and second year lab work was stuff based on chemistry, and I just didn't enjoy it. But I actually really did enjoy my final year, and I did some interesting things. I did my final year dissertation, which I might do a whole entire video on, like final year dissertation and master's dissertation, because I learned so much from both of them that I think is really interesting. Finished fourth year. Halfway through fourth year, I was like, what do I want to do next? What do I want to do next? I know I don't want to go to medical school, so obviously I hadn't taken any of the tests. I wasn't applying to anything. So I kind of decided, okay, well, I love this like tropical disease biology thing. I'm going to apply to courses that are focusing on that. I want to work on diseases that affect you know, where I come from, and that's neglected and not really discussed. So I applied for the London School of Tropical Medicine and the Liverpool School of Tropical Medicine and UCL. So for UCL, I want to say I applied for like population health or global health or something along those lines. I don't really remember. For the my memory is terrible. This wasn't even that long ago. For the London School, I applied for this degree that everyone applies for, and I don't remember what it's called. And then for the Liverpool school, well, the title of the degree now is Tropical Disease Biology, but it was named something different, which I no longer remember because apparently I have the memory span of a goldfish. I ended up getting into UCL and the Liverpool school, and I decided that I wanted to get out of London, so I decided to go to the Liverpool school. And it was the best decision I made. I moved to Liverpool, which is a city that I absolutely love and really enjoyed living in, even though it is cold as hell. But everyone there is so nice, and I really enjoyed living there. My first year was a bit of a mix because I had that module in my third year. I knew a lot more than some people did in certain aspects and vice versa, because they did have a dedicated course to tropical disease biology at the University of Liverpool. So some people came in knowing a lot more than me. It was quite a staggered like group of people, but we were quite a small bunch. I think there was like 30 to 40 of us. And first year was basically about evening the playing field. And I was very much in that like feeling of, do you know what, I just want to get a merit and do my best, but I want to get a distinction in at least one thing, because I've never been a distinction student. I've been like a B plus student, I would always say. I work really hard, but like I'm not an exam taker, and it is not like my strong suit. I can write essays to save my life, but I can't take exams. But anyway, first semester happened. It was really good. I really enjoyed it. I had a lot of labs, and it was in that moment that I was like, oh, I'm not really enjoying lab work, because it was just repetitive stuff for me. I felt like I wasn't really doing anything innovative. Moved on to my, and I would also note that also during my masters there is one essay that I failed. Like 50% was the passing mark, and I think I got 48, and I never failed anything at university level before, and I was absolutely heartbroken, because I remember thinking like, what am I putting in the work for? And at this point I was looking at grad jobs and at PhDs, and I was just thinking, well, obviously I'm not going to get a PhD with this sort of grade, and so I have to focus on grad jobs. So at this point I was going ham with grad jobs, you guys. Like, there's no GSK, so phone. Listen, there was no farmer job that I was not there for. There was no government job that I was not applying for. I was doing all of the applications, because you know what, I'm not going to be broke. I'm not the person, I'm not the one. I did a microbiology unit that I really liked, but most importantly I did an epidemiology unit that I really liked, and I really enjoyed it. It was like a whole entire new world to me, and it was looking at tropical diseases in these countries, and epidemiologists going in and being like, oh my god, we can solve the problem, and being like, here's the solution. And then coming back a year later and realising that nothing has actually changed. And that's what introduced the idea to me of like social scientists and epidemiologists working in conjunction with one another. At this point I kind of had started my science Twitter, and I was like, do you know what, it doesn't matter what I do next, you know, representation is important, and people who look like me should see people like them just around and about, you know. Coincidentally enough, at this point I was scrolling through Twitter, and I saw this guy called Alex. I think he's at Thermodynamics. I don't remember. I'm gonna put his ad down there because everyone should be following him. He's a great science communication guy. He's absolutely hilarious. You know, he's one of us. And he was just this black guy with this huge beard in the lab, like staring at his results, like proper fighting it. He was in his final year of his PhD, and I was like, this is someone who, you actually look like someone I would know in real life. Like, you look like someone that I could be friends with, and you're doing a PhD in biochemistry. So who's to say that it's not possible for me to do a PhD? And that was one of those things where I was like, do you know what? No, people who look like me are doing it, and people who come from similar backgrounds to me are doing it. So why can't I be one of them to do it? And once I put my mind to something, you guys, I'm like a gnat, you can't get rid of me. I'm that person who's just like, no, I'm going ham. And so in that moment, I didn't tell anyone aside from my parents and my professors, because I needed help. And I was going in. I was applying to different ones. And this is the mistake I made, in the sense that I was somewhat applying to things just for the sake of applying to it, which I wouldn't recommend. But eventually I stumbled across my current PhD that I'm doing, which is an ESRC, BBSRC PhD. I'm going to tell you where I go, because if you like, come and try and find me. I'm Nigerian. That's not even the point, actually. Corona's outside, no one's really looking for anyone, and UCL is a very big university anyway. And it's on my Twitter page, so it doesn't really make a difference. I saw it, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna apply for it. But at this point I didn't know how to like curate my CV. I didn't know how to make my personal statement banging, so I applied and I didn't get in. And I was thinking, in my mind I remember thinking, but this was, and I'm a religious person, so I'm like, this was my calling, like this is what God intended for me. This was the PhD that God intended for me, so why hasn't it worked out to my advantage? Like, why hasn't it worked? I let it go, and then I think 3 months later it popped back up. They were doing a second round of interviews, and I remember thinking, do you know what, focus all of your attention, do everything you need to do to make your CV and your personal statement work, get feedback, get advice from people who've actually gotten in, because I had classmates who'd gotten in. And I applied for that and for an NIHR, National Institute Health Research PhD at the London School and at UCL, a different department to what I'm currently in now. And I got the interview for mine, and I remember thinking, I was so shocked, and I remember thinking, well, I got the interview, but I'm not going to get in. Like, I was thinking about the NIHR ones, and I was thinking those ones are like the ones I'm probably going to get into, and I don't know why I was thinking that way. I was obviously in Liverpool at the time, so I had to come back. Just thinking, you know what, they're here, they want me, and I'm really good. I interview really well. Like, I stand by that point completely. I interview really well, because one thing I know how to do is I know how to talk. You guys, I know how to talk. Went to the interview. You had to do like a mini presentation on previous research you've done, and at this point I hadn't done my master's dissertation, which I do think I'm going to do that video about dissertations, because I learned a lot from my master's dissertation and I actually really enjoyed it, and it was a fantastic experience for me, and I got a distinction in it, which was like my pride and joy of my master's. But I went in there and I did like a mini presentation on my undergrad dissertation, which was absolutely terrible, but I can interview, so I knew how to spin it. And then they asked me a bunch of questions and everything was great. And then I went back to Liverpool that day. Yeah, I went back to Liverpool that same evening. And then the next day I remember I was walking home from uni down in Liverpool, and then I found out I got in, and my face was just like, I remember calling my friend and I said, they accepted me. I'm not sure if they did that on purpose or not, that sort of thing. But yeah, and that's how I got into my PhD program. I did end up getting interviews for the NIHR ones, but decided not to go because I knew this was the program I wanted to join. I then proceeded to finish my master's year. But ultimately, guys, this was a long-winded way of me saying, this is me. I'm back. So hopefully making videos, maybe once a week, but you never know. I make no promises. And, you know, do a PhD if it's what you want to do. Don't be put off by the lack of perfection or this need for ultimate excellence. Follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram, which I have not logged into for a very long time, but follow me on Twitter because I actually show up on that form of social media. Tell me what you want to see from me, ask me questions, let me know what type of videos you want. Ramadan Kareem to my Muslim brothers and sisters out there, you guys. To the rest of you, well, to everyone, stay home, stay safe, protect our NHS, protect our healthcare workers, and inshallah we will all get through this and we will all be safe for many more outdoor adventures to come. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment down below. Bye.